For Sunday, August 5th, you've found the Georgia Gang. Topping our agenda today, another airport scandal. On the political front, Brian Kemp has an app for his campaign. And in Marta, maybe going to Gwinnett. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
And we're glad you could be with us, and we are most glad to welcome back Alexa Scott.
Glad to be back. Thank
Yep.
you.
A new knee, new metal.
Yep, plastic and metal hinge.
There you go.
Instead of a knee joint.
But you're here.
I'm here.
You're sitting tall.
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
We're glad
to
you're
be
back.
Thank you.
You know, we disagree to be disagreeable or vice versa on this broadcast. We don't rehearse it. What we say just comes out of our mouths. And we actually have a little bit of disagreement that I'm going to be eager to sort out here, because in my mind, this week's news on the Atlanta airport and the severance pay given in secret to the former airport director, Miguel Southwell, is the biggest scandal yet to come out of this whole corruption investigation. It's just because of what it says about the lack of transparency, the secrecy, the contempt of the mayor, then Mayor Kasim Reed, for his city council and so on. So let's set that up. And Phil, I'm going to start with you. We're going back to 2016. The airport director is fired. There is a settlement, as there always is. And $85,000 was the amount approved by the city council. And yet we now learn that there's $147,000 in additional secret payments made to Southwell by the mayor and the city administration without any oversight from city council.
Well, that is a good overview, and just to add to that overview for the viewers, yes, this has been a cesspool of corruption at the airport for over 30 years. It continued on into the Reed administration. We've had people that have gone to jail, including the chief procurement officer, Adam Smith, under Reed for taking bribes. But here's the key. Remember, after this settlement that we're going to talk about, there was a highly public feud between Southwell and then Mayor Reed, both accusing each other of crimes. As you remember, Southwell did not want to sign airport contracts that Reed was forcing him to do. That's all on the public record, which is shameful.
And just to add to that narrative, there was a last-minute rush of huge airport concession contracts going through, which Southwell accused the mayor of trying to rig.
That's right. So that's the bottom line. And then all of a sudden, they signed a confidentiality agreement. City council paid some money. Then this new development comes with this mysterious settlement. I'm speculating, but all of us have speculated on this show. I'm wondering if it came from a vendor to try to shut Southwell up, and so Reed could move on and as if nothing happened.
Darren, you take a slightly different view of this, don't you?
Yeah, and I think Phil just said the key word. We're speculating. All right, so let's keep that in mind.
Oh, no gossip for us. Just speculation.
You've never done that in your life.
So with that in mind, two facts I want to point out, and we know this. It's not uncommon for a confidential, sometimes amicable departure to happen in business and to government. So what we don't know, because the parties involved won't discuss what really happened with this payment because they've signed a confidentiality agreement. The second thing that Phil left out is that there's been over a year of lawyers and other people looking into this matter, whether or not Miguel Southwell was actually terminated with cause. And for now, over a year, maybe even 2 years, no report has come back and basically said that he was wrongfully terminated. The third thing I want to point out is that, what's so unfortunate about this whole thing is that when you have a gentleman who was running the world's busiest and most efficient airport, who was terminated, as we know, for cause, who did push back with some allegations, so let's also push that out. He raised allegations about the mayor's input, Mayor Reed's input into some contracts, but it was never, ever proven. The problem here, Dick, is always the optics, because you now have Miguel Southwell, who is now the general manager at the Birmingham, Alabama airport, which, by the way, when he was hired, the people down there said that he was one of the best in the business. Top-rate guy, always upstanding, has run the airport in Atlanta very well. But the problem is that for the AJC and to others networks to really imply and infer that there was some funny business going on with this confidential agreement that they signed around a payment for Miguel. Therein lies further the political debate that one must have about the optics of it. So I truly believe that one of the things that I want to point out is that this all happened under the Reid administration. And Mayor Bottoms and her administration is cooperating with this federal investigation. By the way, the federal investigators have had this information now for over 2 years. And so they have had this information.
Well, now wait.
No, they've had it, Dick. And so how this all came about is because now, through an open records request from the media and cooperation with the Bottoms administration, they have now obtained some emails and some documentations that basically raise the question.
This is a new revelation about this confidential. It's in a letter, and we still don't know who paid this $147,000.
Let me turn to you, Alexis. And again, as Theron mentioned, you run a business.
Yeah.
And there's $147,000 here that are not accounted for, that Felicia Moore, the city council president, said, we know nothing about this. And the Bottoms administration says, we don't have a single record on this. Is this some mysterious hand that deposited the money in Miguel Southwell's wallet?
I don't know, but it does sound a little bit unusual, to say the least. And also, if the source of the funds, if it wasn't public funds, then someone else had a hand in supporting this settlement, apparently, because they had, what, $85,000 was
and that's
in the
not
city
legal,
settlement.
I don't think.
I don't know if it is or not. Is that what Manafort is being on
it's
trial
certainly
for
unethical.
now?
Well, here's what lawyers will be asking themselves, that very question, because obviously we're dealing with an elected mayor, a public official, and if this is proven to be some conspiracy to cover up something, that's racketeering.
Phil, does this give any impetus to the efforts coming out of the state Senate to create an Atlanta Airport Authority, to take it away from the city?
Well, certainly. We've talked on the show before about Senator Burt Jones, who has a study committee to talk about having an airport authority, which most major cities in America have. It's not a perfect vehicle, but it certainly is better than having a mayor controlling your procurement and your vendors at an airport, which is the case now. And so it's an extra layer. So I think this will add impetus, and I think there might be some bipartisan effort behind this.
I respectfully disagree. I think if you have this really uncomfortable conversation about this authority, number one, I've talked to a lot of folks at the state, I know Phil has as well, is that the finances around this dig is just unbelievable. It would be a tremendous financial burden.
Well, I was really
state.
asking more of a political question, because Casey Cagle was the impetus for this, and he lost.
Correct.
So if the Republicans were to win, we'd have to see where Brian Kemp stood on this issue. I mean, I think it's very murky.
I don't think it was just Casey Cagle that was the impetus. There was a lot of talk in both the House and in the Senate, especially with an ongoing federal corruption probe on contracting and bribery at our airport.
Well, we got to get out of this segment, but I actually got dizzy trying to prepare our show notes because there's the $17 million the city is now going to have to pay for that cyber attack, because all their equipment was outmoded and outdated. We don't need to dwell on that.
They did, but one of the things that also to point out that is that the city has insurance. And so they have cyber insurance. And one of the things that Mayor Reid did on his way out is that he actually did purchase cyber insurance for this unfortunate event that happened.
And then we have this other issue of the law firm hired by the city to look into one of these things, and they gave a verbal report.
Whoever heard, it was not verbal, it was oral. Verbal could be written as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I stand corrected. It was an oral report.
It's crazy. Really? Whoever heard of such?
During the commercial break, I'm going to give you an oral report on our compensation.
Okay.
And therefore it'll be meaningless.
Well,
okay?
it's a joke, and it's an insult to really the taxpayers. We talk about accountability from anybody. I don't care what their political label is, and this is just to get around the people's right to know.
But one of the things we got to point out,
you should be for the people's right to know.
I am for the people for the right to know. But Phil, let's not. For weeks you criticize this, and just because you probably didn't get the outcome you wanted, let's applaud the Bottoms administration for bringing in an independent law firm who actually did a thorough report of what happened, and whether or not they reported it orally or not.
How do we know?
It was an oral report. The board members know, and they decided to move in the direction they moved in. And so
Right.
let's not get mad because you didn't get the outcome you maybe wanted.
They were
But let's
caught.
also
They were
but
caught.
let's applaud the independent investigation,
Yeah,
which
but
was thorough.
Who ever heard of giving a report with no paper to back it
You
up?
got to back it up.
Thank
Come
you,
on.
Alexis.
Thank you, Alexis. All right. When
Sorry.
we come back, we'll turn to the state news, and we'll start with Dale Russell and the I-Team. He found an app. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
You know, there's generally an app for that. There's not an app for the Georgia Gang, by the way, but there's an app for that. And Dale Russell and the I-Team this week did a very simple piece of television news. Dale went to his cell phone, called up the app for Brian Kemp, Secretary of State, official state webpage app, paid for by the taxpayers. And at the bottom it said, join us on Facebook, Twitter, and something else. And all three of those social media apps went to his campaign page.
Not good.
Not supposed to do that,
That
right?
sounds illegal even.
Yeah, and the Democrats have made that point this week, Alexis. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And who does he think he is?
Well,
can't do
Kasim Reed? No.
Well, you know what?
Oh.
It obviously was wrong, and I think this is my guess. I think some 20-something IT person. This is pretty basic
come on,
in a
don't
bit.
go
Let me
there.
finish.
You would be outraged.
Let me
I thought
finish.
You would be outraged.
Well, you won't even let me finish.
Okay, we won't let you finish.
First of all, yeah, it's wrong. You happy? I criticize both parties when they're wrong. But secondly, what I was about to say is I'm speculating that some 20-something
Why?
didn't know, let me finish, didn't know how to address unlinking these things. It's very easy to do. In my company, we do this. And so
Well, that's what I'm
I think
saying. Why would-
I think it was stupidity.
Well, but I think adults in the room, then, if you're
Yeah.
going to blame it on 20-somethings,
Exactly.
I think an adult in the room should have said, hey,
Let's review
Mr.
this.
Secretary of State, this is going to your campaign webpage.
Absolutely, I agree with that too.
And on behalf of Phil, I want to apologize to all the millennials and 20-something-year-olds
please.
who watch this show
Listen to
for you
this-
to just throw it
Listen to
again.
this sanctimonious. What? You know, there's good millennials,
apologize.
and then there's clueless people of all ages.
No, I think to be a fair critic here, I think that clearly was oversight. I mean, there's no way that Brian Kemp running for governor would allow that to happen. I think that if he'd known that that was linked to his campaign, he would have told someone to take it down a long time ago. But again, it's campaign season, it's a general election, and we've talked about this. These are the type of unforced errors that
Yeah.
you can't have when you're in the general election for
It's a
governor.
Well
staff
said.
problem.
Yeah.
It's staff,
yeah.
but it goes to the top.
Well,
too.
we all agree on that.
Yeah, he's
but
responsible for
Well,
his
Nixon had a
I
staff
will
problem,
end
too.
on a note of agreement on that. That I don't think Brian Kemp knew anything about it. But it's still,
That's still- he's responsible,
Yeah,
though.
and remember that when Stacey Abrams has problems with her staff.
Well, let's turn to the
Exactly.
Democratic
It's
side of
not-
things. President Barack Obama, former president, endorsed a whole bunch of people all over the country. I don't remember presidents doing this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't remember a laundry list of people he's never met in
Not
states,
necessarily.
in 48, 50 states. And the two that come to mind in Georgia, of course, he endorsed Stacey Abrams, and he endorsed Sarah Riggs Amico, who's running for
Amico.
Amico. Let's establish a Georgia Gang rule. Is it Amico?
It is Amico.
I've heard it
from-
every different way.
I have too, but her campaign confirmed that it is Amico.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sarah Briggs and Amico. She's the nominee for lieutenant governor, and she received the endorsement of Barack Obama. I almost looked at it as a non-news story. Of course,
Yeah.
the former president endorses Stacey Abrams and Sarah Riggs Amico, right?
Right.
That,
No big thing.
Well,
but he didn't endorse Dianne Feinstein in California.
Well, the thing is, I think he's looking at, according to what the report that I read about why he did these and how he did these, was he was looking for new young leaders, and he's been promoting people around the country to carry the ball forward for the
Okay.
Democratic Party. So that was why, and he also said that he admired the kind of campaign that Stacey Abrams is running, and because Georgia is a red state, of course, and that's another reason why the Democratic Party nationally has not put a lot of money into the Georgia campaigns, because it's seen as a red state. But because of the way she's running the campaign and because of the way the diversity of the state is trending, that he thinks that if he can put a helper, get those people out who might not otherwise come out, that would be very helpful.
I think it's just a small political footnote.
Theron,
Well,
we
when she
spent a lot of
wins, it'll
time.
be real dramatic.
Theron, do you sense the campaigns are in a lull before Labor Day? That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because some of them. But you got to give Abrams a little credit here. I mean, she's got an ad up that's a pretty big buy. It's been up now for over
very effective.
2 weeks. But back to the president's endorsement, we spent a lot of time.
By the way, so are the Republican ads against her.
Right. So she's got to match that, and that's kind of unheard of, Dick, because usually, to your point, you really don't start making the big buys until after Labor Day. So the Abrams campaign is matching the RGA buy. But I think back to the President Obama endorsement, we spent a lot of time on this broadcast talking about the effect that President Trump's endorsement had on Brian Kemp's victory. Many have told me that he was surging before the endorsement. So when you have a former president endorse your campaign, it has the same amount of impact on fundraising, on motivating more people to give their time and efforts to the campaign. So while I thought it was a little early, it's still significant, and it's something that the campaigns will be able to build upon.
We got to get out one note just for the record books. David Schaefer, the second place in the race for governor, lieutenant governor, on the Republican side, conceded graciously. Did not ask for a recount, Phil. I think that was important.
Yes, I think it was a good thing for Republican unity. The winner, the nominee for lieutenant governor, is Jeff Duncan, a former House lawmaker. In fact, I'm told that coming up in a week, there'll be a big unity event, a reception with both the House leadership on the GOP, the Senate leadership GOP, and Brian Kemp and Jeff Duncan, and all is supposed to be sweetness and light. Supposed to be is the key word.
All right, we've got to get out. Another quick footnote: Governor Deal suspended that airline jet fuel tax.
Right.
The one that Casey Cagle had stopped, and Governor Deal suspended it, which he can do, and it'll be up to the General Assembly in January, and the mood of the folks down at the Capitol if they want to punish Delta some more. We'll see. I doubt it. Anyway, when we return, a really important vote in Gwinnett County before the commission there. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
And in Gwinnett County this week, a vote with a wrinkle. The county commission finally scheduled its vote on whether to put on the ballot a referendum that would make the county join MARTA for bus and, they presume, rapid rail at some point. And I think we knew that the commission was going to pass the vote because they've been looking at those studies and whatnot, and what's in the setting a master plan for transportation in Gwinnett County. What I didn't see coming, Phil, was the decision to move the vote to March, away from the general election.
That's right. A lot of us, I think, were surprised at that. We thought it would be on the general election ballot in November. But the controversy, of course, is this does not serve all of Gwinnett County. Of course, Gwinnett is a growing county, and we're going to have a big population surge there. And so there's got to be some transit thought given to this, and that's why I think the commission did what it did. Again, if we can look in the crystal ball, I think it might pass, whether it would be in November or in March.
Well, the thing that's so unique about this, and we spent really a lot of time talking about transit, and we've talked a lot about Gwinnett. So I think Chairwoman Charlotte Nash deserves a lot of credit, and the commission, because it did get a 4-1 vote.
Because she worked with her commission to get that.
She worked hard with these commissions, and my sources tell me that this was a lot of debate back and forth. And so to have transit finally be a real possibility, it's going to happen going to Gwinnett, is something that we must celebrate. The other thing that's really interesting about this new contract is that it's going to be governed, it's going to be structured around House Bill 930, which we know passed. And the other point I want to talk about is that Gwinnett will retain 0.71 of the penny that they will get from the revenue.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Now, you and Alexis should be complaining that this vote, because the Democrats in Gwinnett were up in arms, that this vote was postponed from November, when everybody pretty much votes in a general election, to a March special election, where only regular voters are sure to turn out. I don't quite get that. I would think that the people who want transit are more likely to be Democrats.
No, I think this is a nonpartisan issue, Dick. I think when you're stuck in traffic and you want to get to anywhere in Gwinnett County, to Atlanta or going to the airport, this is a bipartisan issue. Now,
what does this do to the overall picture of the? Remember, we got this new vehicle coming.
Well,
called the ATL.
ATL. I think the ATL stays in formation. I think what it gives an opportunity to the commission and to Chairwoman Nash to continue her outreach to the Democrats in Gwinnett County and continue to make sure that this doesn't get caught up into partisan politics. But everyone keeps in mind that if you're a Gwinnett citizen, you have a keen opportunity here to bring transit to your area. So I think the partisanship is only being amplified through the media. I think truly when you look at transit, it transcends party lines, and I think that the chairwoman and MARTA will continue to have those conversations.
I agree with that. I think the media is blowing up the partisan thing on this.
And I also think it gives them more time to discuss the marriage of ATL with MARTA and incorporating Gwinnett.
ATL, for the viewers, is the overall agency that's going to be dealing with regional
out of the
transit.
state legislature.
Right.
But without Cobb County, and well, anyway. But that's that.
Right.
We're
Cobb is going to have this discussion too, Dick.
Well, I know.
And Gwinnett has the opportunity to have some control also of some of the capital projects that are going to be coming up. So that's another.
There's going to be a list
that
people can look at and then decide. That's important.
Let me jump over a county. Let's go from Gwinnett to Fulton County, because that is a pickle, as we've, particularly me, I've been saying this for 2 years. 39,000 appeals of property tax assessments, mostly from private homeowners. I don't know how Fulton County is going to be able to collect its taxes. The state is not going to approve its digest, hasn't approved the one from 2017. The Fulton County people seem to be whistling past the graveyard, and then the commission, Phil, voted a millage rate increase on top of these whopping 50 to 100% property tax increases.
Well, that was outrageous. It was a partisan vote. It was 4-3. The Republicans opposed this unnecessary millage hike. It does give the county a $150 million surplus. And that's what Rob Pitts claims is going to last for 5 years, which is no millage increase lasts for 5 years in any county in America. But anyhow, I think what's going to happen, and I was one of those ones that appealed. I don't know if you did, Alexis.
Of course you did.
But it's a mess. We've talked about the mess that's gone on for years. They still have to straighten out the assessments in, I don't know, was it dozens of neighborhoods.
You did appeal?
I did.
So you get a 3-year freeze.
Yes, and I've appealed successfully over the years, and I urge everyone to appeal.
Darren, you know what that means?
He's not paying his fair
She's
share.
buying lunch.
No, he's definitely
He's got the money, right?
He can afford it.
And dinner. All right.
He can afford it.
We didn't get to Cobb County. We'll try and squeeze that into winners and losers, and that's what we'll do when we come back. Stay with us.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
And we will begin, as promised, with Phil, picking up on our discussion last week of the impact of the battery in the SunTrust Park in Cobb County.
That's right. I think we all agreed that it was a great economic driver. They had the announcement of the elevator company coming in. I didn't realize this, but there's more acreage there. There'll be a new announcement for another company that's major. In fact, that elevator company had over 800 jobs, not 600 like the AJC. And just to put it all in perspective, this is more money for Cobb County through your sales tax, property tax, and school tax. And I don't think we made that clear with the bigger picture.
Outweighing the talk about the tax abatements for the Braves.
That's right. I got a winner, Herman Cain. He had a great 5-year run on WSB Radio. We wish him well. And then my loser is Fulton County Superior Court Judge Doris Downs. You may remember it was big headlines a few weeks ago where this thug allegedly killed a tourist right outside the Capital City Club in Brookhaven. That person had no business being on probation, which the judge did. Fulton County's DA Paul Howard said, no, don't do it, and tragedy occurred. So Judge Downs a loser.
Alexis.
Okay, I want to start off by thanking my doctor, Thomas Bradbury, who gave me a brand new knee and new lease on walking and mobility. And also followed up by AG Roads, which is helping me with my rehab. They're a wonderful group of folks who've been getting me back on my feet, so I thank them for it. And then I want to also congratulate Ryan Cameron, who was named the voice of the Atlanta Falcons to go with
The stadium voice.
the stadium voice, right?
Yeah.
With the games when they started playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
All right, Darren.
Clint Rucker, he was recognized as the Prosecutor of the Year, Fulton County Prosecutor, Executive Assistant DA. Also the National Urban League, they had a wonderful conference, and Nancy Flake Johnson, who runs the Atlanta Urban League, was there. Also definitely Gwinnett County, Commissioner Charlotte Nash and the entire commission, and MARTA are definitely big winners. This is a great win for both organizations. And lastly, the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to add 900 new jobs with this new arena that they're going to be getting. And so this is another step towards economic development and creating jobs in Atlanta. So definitely want to shout them out.
How about Atlanta? How about Atlanta, the soccer capital of the world?
Isn't that amazing?
It's just amazing. This
They
week
broke a record, right?
broke attendance records for soccer with the Major League Soccer All-Star game, which was quite a good game, by the way, and led by Joseph Martinez of the hometown Atlanta United. It was very, very good. And Chipper Jones, who sometimes mumbles, gave an eloquent speech at his Baseball Hall of Fame induction. And for you really hardcore sports fans, we're 28 days, as the late Al Seroldo used to say, from toe meeting leather on the college football scene. And we'll see you next week on the Georgia Gang.
All right.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing in this program.